Hello, I'm Jacob, and you are watching the Prepper's Bunker Outdoors. Today, we are going to do a special live video, hopefully answering some questions about Exodus knife and tool, if you should have any. Got some news, got some exciting things going on, um, but to kill some time before we get some live viewers, I want to go over basically the three models that are pretty much currently available. If you're not familiar with Exodus knife and tool, the first model would be, the Adventure Craft. This is the first model that I released with Exodus knife and tool. Very small knife, 3-inch blade, 3-inch handle, 1/2-inch height, weighs about 3 ounces, full flat grind, 1/8-inch thick, 1084 steel. All of my knives are made by Mineral Mountain Hatchet Works. I absolutely love Mineral Mountain Hatchet Works, and if you're not familiar with them, I suggest you check them out. They make some bruisers. I wanted to mention some. I grabbed the wrong thing. Mariah, can you grab me the Adventure Craft with the OD green and scales and orange planners, please? I plan on having some new options available for, yes, for all of my knives, really. I'm importing micarta from Poland, from Email Epoxy Lab. They do some great micarta. I'm also planning on having more desert ironwood available. So this is some of our desert ironwood. This video won't do it justice. This lighting won't do it justice. Speaking of lighting, I was actually supposed to try something to remedy that. Probably won't work. It probably just made everything worse, but what are you gonna do? Okay. So desert ironwood, absolutely, I love it. It's expensive. How this is going to work is standard knives will come in standard handle colors, which are natural canvas micarta or black canvas micarta. So when I do runs of knives and sell lots of knives, those will be your options. However, I do plan to do pre-sales about probably once a month, open it up for a week, and through there I'll have a lot more options through which you can choose some different things. Again, one of which would be, in the future, desert ironwood. Now these knives will be more expensive. They are custom, and but the problem has been so far that if you want a knife, standard color or otherwise, a lot of people just haven't been able to get one because I haven't been able to make enough of them. If you order one on the pre-order, it could take up to 6 months depending on the options that you choose to receive your order. However, you will get the knife that you want. So that's the added benefit. There's no rush to order. They usually sell out in a few minutes. There's no cart sniping and all of that madness. So yes, desert ironwood, I hope to use this a lot. I am absolutely in love with desert ironwood and how Mineral Mountain Hatchet Works finishes it. All right, from Poland, if you didn't already know, orange micarta is hard to come by. I've ordered quite a bit of it from small makers and stuff like that. It has not turned out well. But the orange from Email Epoxy, that, like I said, I have to import this from Poland, is quite good. Nice in hand. It feels so good. And they make orange liners as well. Again, this is going to be a premium option that you're going to have to pay for. Like I said, I'm having these custom made and imported, these handle materials custom made and imported from Poland. It ain't cheap, but if you want orange micarta, it is what it is. I mean, it's amazing stuff. I should clarify that I need to use micarta. Mineral Mountain Hatchet Works will not use G10 because it's nasty stuff and you need respirators for it. So I also have one example here, OD green canvas and some thick, with 2 C's, thick boy orange liners. In the future, I have ordered smaller, thinner liners than this, but talk about a cool look. So Emil Epoxy, he just makes some really neat stuff. I'm excited to have some unique handle options from him. The Adventurecraft really, the purpose of this design is, for one, I like thin blades. I like the cold steel spike when I was a kid, like before high school. And when I got into bushcraft, there were all these rules. I didn't understand. You had a Scandinavian grind that was shallower than this grind is, but you've got this much blade on top of it. And I couldn't at first really figure out why. I mean, obviously it was tradition. That's the way knives have been shaped. And obviously it's for strength. The problem is these Scandi grinds didn't have a lot of strength at the edge, and there were all these rules for how you could and couldn't use the knife. And I'm like, if you can't use this knife for almost anything, why have all that extra size and weight? Especially in a knife that you're only going to be using for moments at a time, not for prolonged use. I started thinking about getting rid of all of the extra. Fast forward a little bit, I was designing knives for another company, and I designed a line of Puko knives. And I basically had a normal, small, and extra small. The extra small looked like this, and I fell in love with it. I should have brought these drawings up with me, but I did not. So that is the idea behind the Adventurecraft. This knife is incredibly easy to EDC. On your belt, you'll never even know it's there. You've got a fixed blade on you. You're always ready for adventure. It's got everything you need, nothing you don't. These knives have been put through the ringer. They're phenomenal. This sheath, the sheaths I sell do not come with this loop. You have to get that yourself, but they're very modular. However you want to wear this sheath, really, you can. This is made by Grizzly Outdoors, is our factory Kydex option. Again, it's not easy to offer premium custom Kydex as a factory option, but I really try to offer an upscale product and something a little bit special, something a little bit different, something unique that has the things that I look for involved. So these sheaths, they pop out, they have good retention, they pop back in, they're just as nice as can be. Really happy with them. New for the Adventurecraft and in stock, I do have leather sheaths. Now these are much more simple, much less elaborate. Currently I have 3 colors. I don't know that I always will. They're not premium leather, but they are made locally, which was important to me, by a friend at a good price. They are, hey Ghost, what's up? They are universal, so you can go from one knife to the other, so I can actually keep them in stock. And for people who just want a simple sheath for now until they can get a custom sheath from their favorite maker or whatever the case may be, it's a really good option. These are $20, and you get your knife faster. You get to throw it on your belt. It's a good deal. I'm happy with it. I'm very happy with it. I think it's going to be a really good option that a lot of people are going to like. The next model here, I actually don't even have the current version of this knife. This knife just went up for pre-sale for the first time. Pre-sale is already closed. What's up, William Russell? Pyrene, how are you doing? This is the jackalope. And the idea behind this knife was basically an all-around bushcraft belt knife that was still very lightweight, but was more comfortable for prolonged use than the Adventurecraft. This tip shape is a little bit different than the final production tip shape will be, but where the Adventurecraft is nicely contoured, but obviously quite slim and small and lightweight, the jackalope is slightly larger with more handle contouring and a Coke bottle handle shape. This is a knife that is comfortable in hand while still being small and lightweight. It will still have a large variety of good auto blade. Ghost asked if I have a suggestion for a good auto blade. I really don't. I don't have a lot of switched blades. I think the ones that were issued in the military are absolute trash. But Kershaw has a lot of affordable assisted opening. I have the link. It's American made and $40, and I'm pleased with it. Anyways, just a good all-around purpose belt knife with everything you need, nothing that you don't. The production version is actually a drop point, which will come out to be more like a Kephart. So very excited about these. And like I said, the first production of the run of these is coming very soon, along with some Blade Show specials already. It's going to be amazing. All right. And the next model that I have that will be coming... Oh, I really like Hogue knives. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, Ghost, I would definitely say Hogue. I think Hogue offers an amazing bang for the buck. The next models, actually two models, I've got some subcategories here, and they are based on the French Foreign Legion fighting knife. Most people don't know anything about this knife. I just happened to catch a whiff of this knife design from all things from a Netflix video, The Siege of Jardinsville, off the top of my head, I believe it was. This knife started its life as a 1903 or 1907 US bayonet. And so I believe in about the 50s, the French mass imported these like by the millions for cheap. Hey Richard, how you doing, bud? And they hacked the blade down to 7.5 inches. And this knife has been used in combat all over the world until about 2000. You can see pictures of French Foreign Legion soldiers carrying this knife. That is amazing to me. And so what struck me is this could be one of the most prolifically used fighting combat knives in modern American history, or in modern world history, and nobody knows about it. And nobody knows about it. I wanted to change that because all everybody talks about is the K-bar, right? A decent knife, but at this point, antiquated at best. This is a full tang knife. Used to be a bayonet. A lot more history. So, and this is the original sheath that it came in. So I wanted to remake this knife. The French, well, I'm not sure if it's going to be the French Foreign Legion Combat in Field or the Legionnaire Combat in Field, but that will be one of these two knives. Oh man, this is exciting. To compare this to the original, we have a few modern touches that are really going to set this apart. Obviously, we are full tang. I wanted to have a pommel color like the original stripped metal pommel to kind of keep the aesthetic. We keep the two grooves in the handle material, but instead of steel and wood, we are using natural and black micarta. It's just tougher, it's grippier, it's better in basically every way. The blade shapes, the tip shapes on the Legionnaire fighting knives vary considerably by whoever hacked them off. So I found some photographic evidence of models with a clip point like this and decided to go with a bit of a clip like this. Similar guard. The fuller does not go all the way through for strength. We end the fuller early. And at the ricasso, instead of just a plain ricasso, we did add a choil here. I want this to be essentially, this is 5160S, a modern fighting knife based on this one. So it's not an exact replica. We're trying to do this one justice with a few modern touches. for survival and bushcraft. However, being that this knife, we have to outsource the machining for the fuller. It has the two-piece guard and two-color handle material. This is going to be quite a expensive knife for a lot of people, and I don't want such a historic knife to be out of the reach of the average but motivated user or fighter. So I wanted to come out with something similar without the expensive fuller, the two colors of handle material, or the secondary guard, and with the added benefit of a higher grind. With this thin edge and higher grind, this knife is going to be incredibly practical for field use, and it's going to be more affordable. Now, I don't have prices locked down yet. I don't even have a standard sheath designed for this yet. However, the plan is to go with, obviously it'll be wider than this, but a similar shaped Kydex sheath, OD green, with slots milled down along the sides to make it versatile for multiple mounting options, and a leather frog like this. Pyrene Dream asked if there's a finish on that, like powder coat, parkerized, etc. If you're asking about the sheath, it's just green paint from, 100 years ago. As for the Mineral Mountain Hatchet Works knives, the finish on these knives is parkerizing. This is large for a bushcraft knife. America's First commented, American First. It is not primarily a bushcraft knife. These are combat knives. However, with the small changes made to the design of these knives, these combat knives are now very effective for, or much more effective for bushcraft or survival. So these are certainly utilitarian blades. This is only a 7-inch blade, 7.5-inch blade. So this is actually not a super large knife. I'm holding it forward to the camera, making it look larger. If you look back here next to my arm, this is not a monster of a knife, just a little bit larger than a K-bar. And more importantly, it lacks a lot of the downfalls of the K-bar in that it is full tang. You have no square edge going to a soft rat tang with the leather stacked handles that we all love. This is going to be a tougher design. It doesn't have the design flaws, as well as being more ergonomic. And I just made a baton with this and was doing some bushcrafting with this. It is phenomenal for that task. So while this is not what I would call a bushcraft blade, I would call this a field blade, a combat blade, or a survival blade, and it is certainly capable of bushcraft tasks. All right, this blade here, again, guys, with Mineral Mountain Hatchet Works, everything's done by hand. This is essentially a custom that is being produced for me. I won't talk for sure about prices, but I believe that these will be about $300 and most likely only available as a pre-order with a weight. That price is without a sheath. The Legionnaire field knife should come in at around $200, and I'd really like to hit $210 with a custom Kydex sheath. And if you're not a knife guru, that sounds like a butt ton of money. I'm telling you, that is really, really cheap for a knife of this size that's custom. There's a lot of stuff out there that is just, if I can get this with a sheath for $210, I'm going to be doing my customers a favor. I truly believe that. And really, at $300 without a sheath, I truly believe that this is an excellent price as well. However, being a regular guy, I realize that that's a lot of money. It just is. Actually, the second ever Legionnaire combat knife is actually going to my brother, who's currently deployed down on the border with the 101st Airborne, and they're gonna I don't know how much I can talk about, but they're going to do a little bit of R&R type stuff somewhere in the USA that's going to involve some survival training and stuff. And we're making him one of these as we speak. And we'll get a little bit of field time that way. So that's going to be really cool. Now, one thing that I do want to mention is that's interesting to me. I want to talk about choils really quick. By the way, if you have asked a question and I have missed it, please ask it again. Usually I have a laptop with me and I'm looking at questions. I do not have that tonight, so I just have to look at my phone. So questions pop up and then they disappear. So if I've missed your question, please ask it again. Choils. Choils. A choil is this rounded part right here. I'm located in Kentucky. There's this rounded part right here. Also seen right here. Balance. These are handle heavy knives, which makes them quick in hand. They handle very quickly for a 7.5-inch knife because the blade height is quite short. Now, the combat knife is heavier. The grind is thicker. It is a beefier knife for abuse. But again, so the balance, it's right basically on the guard. Again, a little bit heavier, not quite as quick in hand, not quite as bushcrafty, but this thing is tanky and you could ventilate lots of living matter with this thing and be good to go. This is a tank. This is about 1/4 inch, 5160, whereas the field knife is 3/16 of an inch. So the choil here is kind of a love it or hate it feature. I have another historic blade coming up, a historic reboot. And no, I am not making these. These are made by Mineral Mountain Hatchet Works in Arkansas, all made by hand. I'm designing these and selling them and just running a business. Just like Essie knives are made by Rowan Manufacturing. Currently, Exodus Knife and Tool is made by Mineral Mountain Hatchet Works. So in my designs or remakes of historic designs, the blades will feature a choil where the original had a ricasso. And so it's sometimes odd to me that people hate a choil so much, but I've never seen anyone complain about a ricasso, this flat part here. So by putting a choil where there was a ricasso, you give yourself a little bit more comfort, a little bit more security, and as compared to the original, you have no detriment whatsoever. You can get your finger right up on the edge for your detailed and fine work while having some security. And so it's very comfortable to use. If people complain about the choil, it's going to be too bad because that's the way they're going to be designed. I'm not going to design them without the choil. I think that they work better with the choil, and I believe that they're also more historically accurate to some degree. This is a Bowie, and more Bowies will come. These are sold on my Instagram, Exodus Knife and Tool, as well as sometimes through my website, beachandtactical.com. And in the future, there will be an Exodus Knife and Tool website. James asked, why purchase this over an ST6? I personally would not tell anybody to purchase this over an SE6, especially now that SE has come out with their sculpted 3D G10 handle scales. I'm so excited about those. I have a very high opinion of SE knives. I love SE knives, and SE knives have a awesome warranty. They've produced a ton of knives. There is no downside to buying an SE. And you will get a more affordable knife than you will through Exodus Knife and Tool because they've been around. They can afford to produce a lot more knives. However, if a person were debating between an SE6 and the Legionnaire field knife, we do have 1.5 inches of extra blade length with little to no weight disadvantage. This could actually potentially be lighter weight. Handles are very comfortable. We do have thumb scallops here, which are very nice. Parkerized finish. I personally vastly prefer a parkerized finish over a powder-coated finish. You have no drag. You still have corrosion protection. It's classic. It looks good. It doesn't wear off. At the end of the day, someone might choose this over an SE6 because of the historic background, because they like supporting small business, and because the way they like the way that it looks. You can baton something a little bit larger. This is a little bit more pokey. All right, the shorter profile would ventilate things potentially a little bit better, and you know, it is what it is. But I wouldn't tell someone to go out and buy this instead of an SE6 because you can't go wrong with an SE6. Someone I didn't see, oh yeah, Jordan said the SE is a utility knife with the ability to fight, whereas these blades are fighters with the utility capability. I 100% agree. Now that is not how all of my product line will go. Most of my knives will be utility based. However, I cannot help being a history nerd, finding historic designs, improving upon them, and making them modern. It's something that I wish that the industry has been doing all along, and that the industry is very slow to do. Let's see. So the next knife to be released, or that is planned to be released, will be a modern rendition of the Pilot's Survival Knife. Sadly, the Pilot's Survival Knife was just a typical government knife, and they got a lot of issues in modern production. A lot of issues that are easily rectified. I want to bring the timeless design into the modern era with improved ergonomics, with vastly improved handle geometry and vastly improved edge geometry. And I think I'm very excited about that. Also, I talked about all of this material that I imported from Poland. Just to give you an idea, this is a 2-foot by 3-foot slab of OD green micarta. This is an expensive piece of handle material. I am trying to increase the amount of products that I buy and knives that I make so that I can decrease price the best that I can. So I want you guys to know that although these handmade knives will always come at a premium and may never be the may never give the most value per dollar, because it's hard to compete with these industry giants on that front. And I say hard, it's impossible to compete with them on that front. However, I want to offer the maximum performance per dollar for what I'm offering. And I want to offer the maximum available performance for each design and their weight. Performance for their intended use will always be the focus. And I'm going to be crazy about that. You will not see any gimmicks, any goofy features that are just designed to make a knife look like a Rambo knife so that it can sell numbers. None of that. Exodus Knife and Tool will sell based on practical use and practical application, or it will not sell. So you know, it is what it is. I just believe I had another question here. Let me see if I can check and see what it was. Let's see here. Are convicted felons protected by the Second Amendment? Absolutely. There is nowhere in the Second Amendment that says that they wouldn't be. Pioneering Dream, no, I do not plan on doing any leather stacked handles. I believe that a leather stacked handle, although being absolutely beautiful and comfortable, and having benefits in freezing temperatures and in slick temperatures, will always to some degree be a compromise when it comes to strength and longevity of the leather handles themselves. I've screwed up too many rat tail knives with leather handles. You get them, something happens to the leather, they shrink, they expand, they swell, they dry rot. The guards become loose because usually they're held in place by tension from the leather itself. The tangs ever so slightly start to bend over time, and things get worse and worse and worse until failure. I do not want to design any unnecessary failure points into our blades. Jordan John said, use leather micarta. Can be sculpted to look the same. I've never heard of leather micarta, but I will look it up. It sounds like it would be very difficult to purchase in mass. However, it's something that I want to do, especially if it is stabilized and all that. Burlap micarta is something that I like a whole lot. This particular knife here is in burlap micarta. It didn't turn out exactly how we wanted from this custom maker, but I still absolutely love it. I actually do have an adventure craft here in burlap micarta as well. Burlap micarta will again likely be an option through Exodus Knife and Tool, being purchased through my guy in Poland. He does burlap micarta as well. He does great stuff, and I think that he will have the quality and consistency to knife after knife give me the product that I want. And that's what it's all about. Really, when it comes to knives, when you're buying a premium knife, even if you're buying an Essie, Essie's not the cheapest knife out there. A lot of times with heat treat and with fit and finish, edge thickness and everything else, what you're paying for is consistency. Consistency is a very difficult thing and a very expensive thing to offer to people. And it's incredibly valuable. And so that's one thing that we're working on. Gerald Wingo asked, can I buy it? I do have some things out here that will be available. Pioneer Dream, I'll get right back to that. I do have some things that will be available for sale soon. Sadly, at the point that I'm at, my sales work where I have basically, ideally, a product drop once every 2 months of standard products, and then I'll open probably a pre-order about once a month, and those pre-orders will take anywhere from 2 to 6 months to be completed. So it'll be a little bit before I have anything for sale. I would say if you give me 2 to 3 weeks, I'll have a little bit of stuff for sale. Now, the maker of the material is not Shagot handmade out of Poland, but Shagot handmade out of Poland does use the material. The maker is Emil Epoxy Lab, and both of them are absolutely phenomenal. I have the Polish tracker from Shagot handmade. I love that knife. I need to get it out. I need to get some bush time, guys. I really do. So that's something that will certainly be coming soon. I'm very excited to kind of replicate the look of this sheath with Grizzly Outdoors and have that ready. The hardest part about that is the weight. I mean, I don't want to be without these prototype knives. I want to test the crap out of them as much as I can, but sheath is a sheath. One cool thing I want to mention real quick, guys. This is a buffalo leather sheath from NC Custom Leather, made custom for the Legionnaire Combat. And fits good. It's a little tight right now because it's brand new, of course. But this is the nicest leather sheath I've ever owned. It's just aesthetically amazing, beautiful. Barone mentioned he just ordered from Quick Hatch. I really like Quick Hatch knives. I hope to own one of his knives sometime soon, Lord willing. Now, I can say that if you get an absolutely premium sheath from NC Custom Leather like this for your Legionnaire Combat, that your Legionnaire field knife will fit right into it like a glove. Just this setup, just I am just amazed that I have anything to do with these knives, to do with this sheath. I thank the Lord for the plans that he's given me. It's just amazing. Frontline PDX, I'm actually from the Northwest, so I certainly understand that. Yeah, let me know what you think about that Quick Hatch. Like I said, I want one. I like them a lot. So hopefully someday I'll go ahead and grab one of those. They are on the grail list. Excuse me. All right. Before I go, does anybody have any other questions about Exodus Knife and Tool? How I got it started, what I'm doing, how anything works, you can let me know. I will give you one more small tidbit of information on getting started. So I had an idea for a handle. Obviously, I've co-owned 2 knife companies. Maybe that's not obvious. I've co-owned 2 knife companies in the past. What knife would you stab a red coat with? Whew, well, probably the Legionnaire Combat. This is quite the ventilator, so that would be the one I'd go with for sure. I started Exodus Knife and Tool because Super Kook, yes. Okay, Pyrene, before I get into this, Pyrene has mentioned the Super Kook. One of the knives that really got me, appreciate you too, Brad Rad, that got me started with knives, got people talking about my designs, was my Super Kook with a previous company. And it's on the list to be made. However, I believe that, yeah, the MSK1. The M8 bayonet is pretty cool. I've never seen one with a leather handle. Okay, the Super Kook. It's what people talked about me for. I believe before I release the Super Kook, I am actually going to release a modified Super Kook. It's going to be really, really wild. Like, it's going to be really wild. And so kind of the to-do list, I've got the Air Force survival knife coming up. At some point, I've got the gunslinger. We'll see how that goes. And then probably this modified Super Kook, which I'm not sure if I want to name it something really cool or if I want to name it after a mythical creature, because we have the jackalope. We will have the chupacabra, a Mexican-American War inspired Bowie coming up pretty soon. But I'm not sure what I'll name it. If you guys think of a monstrous, just absolute beast mode mythical creature, let me know. I would think Leviathan, but that's kind of a sea creature. I don't know if it'll really be a sea creature kind of a tool. Maybe like a pirate tool, maybe. I don't know. I'm getting off topic. But the Super Kook's coming. The problem is the Super Kook will always be even if Essie made the Super Kook, it'd be a $350 knife. The Super Kook will always be expensive. It was designed for performance above all things, with no logistical or financial concerns being taken into account. And with the shape of it, it's hard to stack it to where you have minimal metal loss. It's hard to get handle material for it. It's hard to do everything for it. It's huge. The grinds are high. The grind has to be thin. It will always be expensive. If I can find a way to bring the price down at this point, I likely will. And Mineral Mountain Hatchet Works has some tricks up their sleeve that I believe will allow me to do that. They just do really good stuff. But it's probably just going to have to wait a little while before it comes. It's going to be hard to sell them. It's going to be hard for me to pay to have them made and to go through the prototyping process. And I've just got a lot of ideas that I want to come, I think, before that. So let's see here. Oh, Starry Exodus Knife and Tool. It all came from an idea for a handle. People don't like orange handles on average. You look at a knife manufacturer, Essie, Bark River, I don't know if anybody else, Ontario has done some orange handles. They don't sell well. People don't like the way they look, but they're practical, obviously. They're easy to find. So I had this idea. I wanted to have a knife made with an orange bolster. I wanted the front half of the handle to be orange and the rest of it to be some other color. So when it's in its sheath or it's in your hand, you don't really see the orange so much, but if you drop it on the ground outside of its sheath, boom, you've got orange on there. I love this idea, and it's something that I'm working. You guys are going to see some more of this pretty soon. It's going to be way freaking cool. But from that idea, I kind of was like, I talked to Anza Knives, a friend of mine, Charlie. I was like, hey, can you guys do this for me? They're like, no, we can't really do that right now because we won't use G10. I started asking around. I was like, and I realized, man, I could just do this all over again. I could just start try number 3 on a knife company. And I already have had a huge number, the Augustidens. I'm not familiar actually with that, and I feel like I should be. I had this huge portfolio of knife designs, some of which were proven and used, some of which were not. And I just decided to start with the Adventure Craft and go from there. People love it. I love it. Kraken, Leviathan, love it. Cane Break, big rattler. Can't tread on that. I like that. Cane Break. Mariah, write down Cane Break, please, on your phone or somewhere. I like that. Giant snake for the knife that I'm thinking of. Yeah, I like that. Cane, C-A-N-E, break, B-R-A-K-E. Anyways, that's how we got started. It's a giant ancient North American bear. Oh, is the Angustidens. That's cool too. It's a little bit hard to say, but the name of the Legionnaires. There were a lot of great names. I started asking people what they would name this knife in particular. I already named this the French Foreign Legion, but got a lot of great ideas. The Brute, the Foreigner, the Expedition. I love the name the Expedition because expeditions are what I'm all about. I mean, more than bushcraft. Part of my thing is people go out to craft in the bush, okay? They go out to make and practice their skills and make things in the bush. But to me, that should never be the purpose of the trip. That should be something that you do on the trip. It should not be the reason that you go out. It should be something that you practice for while you're out. You know, the reason you should be out, in my mind, is explorations and expeditions and hunting trips where you actually have a goal and you're bushcrafting on the way. So to me, bushcraft is just this little part in between. And the purpose is not that little bushcraft in between that helps get you by. It's the adventure. And so I loved the name of the expedition. Also, my friend Paul LaRocca said, honor and fidelity. That is the motto of the French Foreign Legion. Name one honor, name one fidelity. I love that idea as well. However, I want the main knife, the knives need to go back to the French Foreign Legion design. And I want the name of this knife to be simple and to let people know that it is just a tweaked version of the original. And so I believe the names will be Legionnaire Combat and Legionnaire Field. I think that's simple, easy to remember, easy to understand, marketable. I think that's the direction I'm going to go with it. I'm not positive yet, so don't quite hold me to it. And you can let me know what you think in the comment section below as well. All right. I think I've covered everything. I can continue to answer questions for a little bit if you guys would like, or we will go ahead and get this whole deal wrapped up. But I am, more than anything, I'm more excited about Exodus Knife and Tool than anything else that I have been in a long time. It's by a large degree the most successful that I've ever been with knives, because I don't have a partner. I don't have a lot of other problems. The Lord has really blessed me with this venture and the ability to do the things that I want to do, that I think are the right things to do and that I think people will like. Thank the Lord, people have liked them. And so far things have been very successful. So it's really been incredible. And a huge shout out to all my followers. I mean, you guys make it possible. I'm glad that you enjoy what I'm doing and help me to do it, because this is kind of the dream for me. I'm a knife guy at the end of the day. That's just, I really like knives. And well, I also really like history. So, and I thank the Lord that I stumbled across this, because it was so crazy. In the siege of Jardensville, there's a French Foreign Legion Special Forces dude training up local nationals, because that's Special Forces' job. He's wearing this knife on his belt, and I recognized the handle as a bayonet, but it was shorter. I was like, what is that? I know that knife. I know that's like a 1903 bayonet or 1913 bayonet, but why is it so short? I started doing some research, found out that the movie was accurate in that regard and that this was the French Foreign Legion knife, found all kinds of pictures and documents supporting it, but nobody knew anything about it. Nobody was talking about it. And everybody's talking about the K-bar, and I'm like, this American-made bayonet from the early 1900s, this one's made in 1913, modified in the 50s, and still in use 90 years later, all over the world in untold numbers of conflicts by the French Foreign Legion, and nobody knows about it. I'm so excited about this design, and I'm so thankful that nobody beat me to the punch here, because that would suck, because this is, I believe, a very original idea, and I'm just through the moon about it. So I think the customers, the supporters, you guys don't have to be a customer to be a supporter. If you comment on my stuff, watch my videos, comment on my posts, share my posts, that's more helpful. I mean, it's amazing. So yeah, thank you guys. Let's see. Shouldn't have tuned in. Have a jackalope on order. Now I want a Legionnaire. Yeah, there's certainly different types of knives. The jackalope is just, I think, probably going to be one of the most utilitarian small belt knives on the planet, and the Legionnaire is going to be a combat knife. But they're good. Someone just asked the price. I'm guessing you asked the price of the Legionnaire. This isn't locked down yet. These are the only 2 prototypes that I have. But I feel that the knife price for the Legionnaire Combat will be about $300. And the knife price on the Legionnaire Field Knife will likely be closer to $200. And if you want a breakdown, kind of, I talk more about the price and why the prices are what they are earlier in the video if you want to go back and watch it. Rob Coons said that I had relevant posts in survival. I really appreciate it. So I do plan on I do plan on getting right back in the YouTube content. I appreciate you guys as always. This is 5160. This is 1084. I'm not 100% sure what the full-on production will be, but I would guess 5160 is a very likely candidate, or 1080 or 1084. I want to keep the carbon content a little bit lower, keep these knives absolutely as tough as possible with an appropriate edge thickness. Thanks, guys. I'm glad to hear it, Rob. You all have a great day. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you soon.